Back at it on Stadium. It's FT Live. Braun Frazier, Kratz, and Russ Dorsey with us right now. Okay, Russ, so I've been told that you'd like to maybe throw another name into the National League MVP conversation. Is this true?
Well, I still think the front runner is Ronald Acuna Jr. When you're on pace for almost 40 and 80 bags, that's an MVP. But I think what Freddie Freeman is doing is incredible right now. The guy is hitting 400 with a 485 on base, almost a 700 slug since the All-Star break. And he's carrying that team out in LA right now. And just it goes to show the greatness of Freddie Freeman. I'm not saying he's going to beat Ronald Acuna Jr., but I would believe he's probably going to be the guy that comes in second place.
Hey, don't forget about one of my favorites too, Olsen. I mean, Jesus, 43 bombs, 107 ribbies, baby. Don't forget about the other big dog there in Atlanta.
Oh no, I hear you, man. I hear you.
Talk to me now.
One of the coolest things that's starting to get out in the baseball socials over the last couple of days is that people seeing that Acuna, Matt Olson, Austin Riley, those guys are going to the post every day. Every single day, and to be able to produce like that, like you guys play in the big leagues, like it's not easy to do that. And so for them to be as good as they are, for those guys individually to be as good as they have been and play every day, that's not a small feat. And you don't see guys playing, buck 60, 162 even anymore, guys getting days off, etc. Like, I think it is a credit to them. It's a credit to the Braves for, trusting those guys to get their bodies right to play that many games.
So if Acuna gets hurt, is that opening the door? Is it that close? Like if we get a 2-week injury.
How about a 2-week slump?
Oh, he's not going to have a slump. Dudes like that don't slump.
What if he does for a few weeks?
Then he'll probably only drive in 6 runs and steal 3 bases.
Okay. Like, how close is it, though, Russ?
That's what I mean.
Is there still
2 weeks?
Basically, I know you're saying, and I agree, Acuna is still the guy right now.
Mm-hmm.
But he was hotter in the beginning of the year, correct?
He's in 330.
I know, but is there any chance that someone else wins the award?
I have a hard time believing with the historical aspect of what Acuna's doing. Like, if he ends up hitting 34 homers and swiping 82 bags, that's your MVP, right? And I think when you look back at, like, when Miggy won the Triple Crown, the historical significance of that, obviously, if he went 40-80, like, he would be the 6th guy to ever go 40-40. That's a really big deal. But I definitely think there's going to be people who look at what Freddie's done, especially in the second half, where you have, the recency of the second half in your mind and say, you know what, this guy is hitting damn near 500 over the last 60 games of the season. That's not insignificant. So I still think, if I had to say today, it's Acuna. But I do think it might be closer when we get to that last week of the season if Freddie can continue to hit the space.
Hey, I got a question for you. Do you think he's going to have 70 stolen bases? Do you think Acuna's going to get there? He needs 15
here we
more.
Go.
This has been an ongoing thing here we talked about. I said somebody's going to get 70 or more, and Eric was pissed off I said it. Scooter was kind of like on my side.
Because you said it was because of base size.
AJ didn't think it was going to happen. So what do you think? You think he gets 15 in a month and a half? Almost.
100. He might have 15 by the end of this week.
Let's go.
I don't think it is a matter of if he can do it. I think the fact that you're seeing a guy who wants to steal bases. Like, he enjoys stealing bags as much as he enjoys hitting the ball out of the ballpark. And I think that's really cool for the game, right? You have kids who have never seen a guy swipe that many bags before, right? Like, I obviously know, when D. Gordon was swiping 60 bags, and you go way back when Eric Davis and those guys were stealing 80 and 90 bags, and obviously Ricky Henderson. Like, I think that's been a great part of the season. Like, watching guys like Ronald Acuna Jr., who's not only one of the most dynamic players, but one of the best athletes we have in the game, saying, nah, I'm going to be the guy that does it, and I'm going to hit bombs too.
All right, let's take you to the AL West, okay? Russ, so Texas leads by 2.5 games over Houston. The Astros are mostly playing like the Astros. They had a good weekend besides the loss to the Angels yesterday, 2-1. The offense looked really strong before that. So what's your take on this division right now as the Angels are basically falling apart and Seattle is making a really strong push, not for the division. They're not winning this division, but they look like a wild card team too. So you've got 4 pretty good ball clubs in here. It turned out to be a decent division, right?
Yeah, I think you have – it's very top-heavy, obviously, and that's not to knock Seattle, what they've been able to do as of late. But I'm really excited to watch the AL West down the stretch because you have 2 teams at the top that are probably 2 of the best 5 teams, 6 teams in baseball right now. Both made big splashy moves at the deadline. Both teams are starting to play really good ball. So the Rangers are 10-2 in their last 12 games. You have the Astros that are 8-4 this month as well. So both teams playing really good baseball and doing it in different ways, right? Like the Astros haven't had the most consistent offense this season, but they're finding ways to score runs. They're starting to get some guys to wake up. Jeremy Pena is starting to wake up. You're getting Bregman, swinging the bat well. You're getting Kyle Tucker doing what he's been doing for a while now. And then you have the Rangers who you go out and get Scherzer, and then that rotation's kind of in flux where you're trying to figure out what goes where and who moves down in that rotation, who becomes a swingman, but also an offense that can put up 6-7 runs easy. So I think this last 6 weeks of the season, it's going to be really fun to see these 2 teams that I believe can both get to the World Series. It's just, who gets that last swing at the end of the day.
Let me ask you this about the Angels. Ohtani not pitching anymore, like exhaustion, tired, whatever it is. You think about it, it's got to be a tough situation knowing they're trying to make a playoff bid. They should have traded him. I said it from day one. They would have got some crazy people back for him. And now it's like, oh, he's just going to hit now. So what goes there? It's kind of confusing to me. Is he hurt? Like what's the prognosis you think is going on over there?
I honestly, Todd, think it is actually exhaustion, right? Like we've had since the deadline, it's been the cramping, it's been the fatigue, and it's just a guy that, from everything that the Angels are saying, is exhausted, right? And the production offensively hasn't dropped. Like he has an 1,100 OPS since the All-Star break, so that's been able to maintain. But I think it's a guy that has pressures that other people don't have in the game, like trying to be your team's best starter and best hitter without your guy Mike Trout in that lineup, trying to wait till Trout comes back. Says you have to have a really big back if you're Shohei Ohtani, and you're trying to carry this Angels team that hasn't been able to get to the postseason while you've been there in your last 2 months before you hit free agency. Everybody's talking about, you're the best player in the world. You're going to get $600 million this offseason. I think there's pressure there that other people don't have. And I do believe because you're trying to do things that people don't do physically, that does provide some wear and tear. Do I think this means that Shohei can't do it? No, because he's clearly shown us that he can. I just think with the situation that the Angels have right now where you don't have Trout and you're just really hoping that with the moves that they made at the deadline, Shohei being great, that you can get to the postseason. But I do think that wears on you after a while.
I also think, Russ, this is a guy who wants to win more than anything, but I mean that long term. I think he's pretty well aware at this point. His team is not going to make the playoffs. To push to a point where you could risk injury when you're about to reach your contract year, it doesn't make sense. He's got to think about himself for once here with the Angels. He's given them more than enough, right, for years, and they have not given him a playoff team. So my question is, do you think that other teams are looking at this year for him in particular, where he is better than ever, and just wondering, okay, we have this plan with him as the Angels where we kind of let him do what he wants. Should we try and pitch to him to help recruit him that we would tweak that just a little bit so that he can start for us down the stretch? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is a scenario next year and he's on the Dodgers or the Cubs or the Mariners, I don't want him starting to tire in mid-August. I'd rather spread him out, which is always the difficult balance.
Yeah, so it would be kind of similar to like when he first came over and they were doing, 6-man rotation. They were giving him the extra day. I think that's something that's realistic, and it's something that helps you protect your investment in him. If he's going to get the money that we all believe that he's going to get, it's just like, all right, man, you need a blow. We're going to give you some time away for a week where you're just going to swing the bat, and then when you're feeling right, we'll get you back out there. Because yeah, I think not having him in the last 6 weeks of the season, that is your most important time to have your best pitcher available, is a really big deal. And if you're a team that you're knocking on the door of a postseason appearance, right? You can't not have your guy in there. That's like the Braves not having Spencer Strider. That's like, the Dodgers is like you just got talked about not having Julio Urias. And so to protect. Sometimes you got to protect the guy from himself. Not that he doesn't want to go out there and compete. He does. That's why he's at the point where he is. But you got to say, hey, man, you can help us, swinging that bat. You don't necessarily have to go out there and pitch till your arm falls off trying to help us get there. We're going to help you make sure you're 100% when we really need you.
Two teams that are right at the wild card cusp. One in the American League, one in the National League. The Cubs, right there behind your right shoulder, and the Mariners, we just talked about. They both made an incredible run. You have to choose one. They made an incredible run in the last 10 to 15 games. Who's in, who's out?
I have it up here right now. The Mariners schedule the rest of August. They have Kansas City, they have Houston, they have the White Sox, they have Kansas City again, and they have Oakland. This is the perfect opportunity for the Seattle Mariners, who have been very inconsistent, to get themselves back in the race. But you look at the way the Cubs are playing baseball in their division, and they've started to believe, that group, that they can get to the postseason, right? They went out and they got Jamer Candelario. He's played well. Dansby Swanson is starting to swing a hot bat. Ian Happ has really, bounced back. Justin Steele has been fantastic this entire season. You guys mentioned him as a possible Cy Young candidate. I do think it's the Cubs, just because I haven't seen enough consistency from the Mariners. I know they went on this red-hot streak in August, but when you look at the Cubs' last 50 games, they're looking more and more each week like a team that should go to the playoffs. So I'm going to say the Cubs, even though the Mariners' time to strike is right now.
All right, good stuff. Russ, great to see you, man. Happy Monday. We'll see you later in the week, all right?
Gents, appreciate it.